This is Jelena from Amazonia PPC, and today I have a very special guest with me. Her name is Jana Krekic. She is the founder and manager of YLT Translations, which is a widely known Amazon translating agency. Jana, welcome to our episode today, and thank you for being here.
Hi, Elena. Thank you for having me. My pleasure.
Jana, can you tell us a little bit more about yourself, about the company, and how it all started, and how many employees you have right now, and what kind of services can you offer to Amazon sellers?
Sure. So we're an Amazon dedicated translation agency, and we've been around for about almost roughly 2 years. But I think recently or last year we've just started to scale pretty fast. So we actually started with a team of 5 people, and now we've grown into a team of 42 people. And I'm very, very happy and very proud of the whole team doing such a great work and great job. So without them, nothing would be possible, definitely. We offer international expansion advice, tips, and we deliver listing translations. We do keyword research. We basically offer everything you need to get started on international marketplace once you have registered your company, applied for VAT, and other stuff. So everything you need translated in a new language, optimized with keyword research, we can deliver that for you.
Awesome. That's like a very comprehensive set of services that you can offer. And I know for sure that there are a lot of, for example, USA sellers who are interested in expanding into EU markets and very often lack understanding of the landscape over here and the mindset and the differences between, USA customers and European customers, who are very often a lot more detailed people and less emotional with their purchases and stuff like that. So what exactly would you say is the added value of your services in terms of that? Can someone just like that go to Google Translate and try and translate their listings in any of the local languages in Europe? And is that a possibility to make it work for them?
Right. Well, of course you can, everybody can do that. And this is also when Amazon Launchpad was doing that. I mean, they just stopped their service, I think, in August last year. They were actually doing that. They were offering this automated generic translations, and they were nowhere close to human translation quality because one of the main problems why you shouldn't use Google Translate is that Google Translate lacks the sense of context. So even though you might get some words correct, maybe it will not do such a good job like when translating your bullet or telling your brand story in A+ content. And I would not rely on a tool to deliver the message to my clients. And I would never want to be, never want to have a listing which resembles Chinese sellers listings. And I'm pretty sure all of you guys know how that sounds. And so if you don't want to strive to have a listing like that, I would say no to Google Translate. Also, a very, very typical mistake is that a lot of people also who contact us, but also doing that themselves, if you're, let's say, if you're a US seller, you would just, they would just put their US keywords and just translate them to German, for instance, if you want to sell in the German market. And these keywords may or may not have the same combination for that market as they do for the US market. A lot of keywords for the UK market are not going to be the same as for the US market, let alone that, So just imagine what happens when you search for something like that for the Italian market or Spanish market. Maybe some people, the Spanish market, if you're selling, let's say, a travel mug, maybe the Spanish market, they'll be looking for plastic travel mug, which will have a very high search volume, and in the US it will be very low search volume for that. So you don't want to put a quotation mark between those two and be okay, these are absolutely the same, and I'm going to use this in my title. And what happens is that if you use that in your title and it's a low search volume, you're not going to get what you are hoping to, and sales are not going to be improved that way. So you should really pay attention to the keyword research. It should be done for each market separately, and you definitely have to pay a lot of attention to that. And you want to hire a person who speaks the language to do your keyword research. So I'm not a big fan of a lot of people having Filipino VAs or other VAs from other countries who don't speak the language. So they just would put this in Google Translate and then check the search volume and then get the results from there. I would say no to that, and yes to human translators and VAs that speak the language that is needed to do the proper keyword research.
Definitely agree on that one, especially because it's not just about the keyword research, but also about the mindset. Like even in offline markets, a lot of companies that are looking to expand to like an additional market, they will do proper research before entering that market. And that's it. It's only logical that sellers on Amazon would apply the same mindset when they're trying to expand on other markets. So definitely you need to apply this element that's called localization. Can you explain to us a little bit more what that means?
Localization is one of the most important factors out there, because what happens, we have a lot of US clients who want to sell on the German market. And why German market? Because it's the biggest European market. It's a common misconception, and a lot of people think, especially from the States, that the UK market is the biggest one. But actually Japanese market, I mean, when talking about worldwide markets, is bigger than the UK. But a lot of people don't want to go there because of like the language barrier and all other different stuff. So let's say that a US seller wants to sell in the German market. First of all, you have to know what style of the market you want to use. You want to know who your customers are and who you're targeting. So the US listing has a lot of like very, typical US listing has sales pitch. It forces people to buy the product, like buy our amazing product or like super cute, awesome product. It has like this little bit of this emotionally involved, like with the customer throughout the listing. And actually it really wants you to buy stuff. Like it pushes you really hard into buying that in like the fourth or the fifth bullet. Germans hate that approach. Like if you would just use this US listing and get someone to translate it as it is, like a literal translator, like one-on-one, and just translate to the German market, Germans would not love that. They hate like being told what to buy, how awesome your product is, and especially if they lack a lot of very basic information in the bullets, like what are the key features of the product, how to use it, is it safe for my kids? Like they hate that. If you don't have these information, they'll be just like, okay, like on to the next one, because I'm not 100% sure that I understand what I'm buying. So when you're selling on international markets, your listing has to have very clearly written descriptions. Nobody's going to buy something which they don't understand, especially if it's for their kids or cosmetics or supplements or something that you put inside of your body. So basically Germans, they like very clean, structured, it's like how they do business, tell me exactly what you want from me and I will deliver that to you. And also the German market has the highest percentage of refunds. So this is like actually how they work. They're like, fine, here's a refund. And it's like the market which has the most of these, like that does the most of these. So they want really like a clean business, and they really want something very, clearly written. No, like don't push me into buying. I'm going to tell you if your product is amazing. I don't want you to tell me how amazing your product is. We're going to see that in your reviews and stuff like that. So if they don't see this, and if they don't have this like very, clearly written what does your product contain of, or what are the ingredients, they're probably highly unlikely going to buy your product. And I came across one listing. It was like this espresso cup, like a small shot of espresso, little glass, yeah. And the US listing had like different metaphors. It was like, keep your fingers cozy like your grandma used to do, blah, blah, blah. Or like, enjoy the enigma of a never-ending something. It was like the US listing. And it was like very, very good choice of style for the US. And then he had like the sales pitch, and like it was awesome. It was a very, very good listing. But the German listing of the very same product, where they said like, own the enigma just like your grandmother, blah blah, they just translated this to the German. It says elegant and stylish glass. This is it. And the other one, like keep your fingers warm, like your grandma used to do, it just says thermo isolated glass. Like this is it, you know, no like keep your fingers warm, but like it's thermo isolated, you're not gonna burn your finger. And this is what you understand clearly from thermo isolated glass. And this is like, okay, checked, I'm not gonna burn my fingers, fine, let's on to the second bullet, and so on. So if you just, you know, skip this information and kind of try to make it more, you know, like novelist, like nobody wants to read a novel, no one wants to read metaphors in your bullets. And also a very important thing is to just keep your bullets short. I mean, not too short, but you don't want to maximize on the 499 characters for each bullet, because like nobody wants to read a novel, as I said, and they just want to know the key features, they just want to know which elements are in this product, and then if they like it, they can scroll down and read your A+ content or your product description. So just keep it short and try to deliver all the very important information in the bullets. And the style I prefer for the bullets is that you start with capitalized letters saying like, you know, like if you're selling a coffee mug, you know, like our handle doesn't break. Okay, second bullet, like 100% BPA free, or like dishwasher safe and stuff like that. This is what people want to see. And visually, when you see it, it's quite clear what this product is about. And then people can read like additional small description you left in the bullet. So I think this is what works the best for the German market. And this is what we've had like very big success with coming from the clients. We don't manage anybody's accounts, but we always get in touch with the clients to get their feedbacks, to get information for some case studies that we do. And we're gonna publish that soon on our website. So this is something which is a very good format for the German market.
That's super interesting. So you mentioned that the German market is the biggest European market. Is that the one you would recommend sellers to begin with when they're trying to go pan-European?
Yeah, I think depending on where the seller is from, for instance, for the States, I would always say just start from the UK because of the language barrier. And I think that all the Americans, they want to also go to the UK because it's like, it's English, let's do it. It's going to be so much easier. Maybe we don't even have to do like keywords and stuff like that, which is wrong because you should do them again. But a lot of US sellers always start with the UK market more than with the German, even though the German is the bigger one. But also they think that the UK is the biggest one because, you know, like, if it's English, it has to be the biggest one. You know, it's like that kind of a mindset, and or like the popular or whatever. But like when you talk to like a UK seller or German sellers, I would always suggest the UK market to the Germans and the German market to the UK sellers. Definitely to start with. And usually when people talk about this, they want to start with one market, and if that is one market to choose from, they always choose the German market. So I would definitely choose that one. And I like to call the German market a 5-star market because all other countries that don't have their own Amazon marketplace, they got transferred. So people have to buy from the German Amazon. So you don't get only Germany, you get a lot of other countries outside of the Amazon universe in Europe buying from that very own marketplace. So you have a lot more potential buyers than only, you know, like 10 million or how many million people live in Germany.
That's actually very smart. I never heard about it before.
Yeah.
Interesting. Do you have any tips for other local markets? Like, for example, I know the French nation and French people are super specific, and also counts for the Italian and the Spanish. And I'm pretty sure that you have some experiences to share with us, some maybe patterns that you noticed, what works and what doesn't work for all these other individual markets.
Yeah, well, basically, when it comes to Spanish and Italian market, these markets are very, very, very small. So if you don't, like, a lot of people do the pan-European thing, and then you just, you know, sell on all 4 markets separately, and people would rarely choose just to go to the Spanish market or Italian market. So they're quite small, and I don't think there are like a lot of samples to say like, okay, this is something they don't like, or this is something they like when it comes to products, or the language itself is quite, those are like French, Spanish, and Italian are like Roman languages. And when it comes to also like the culture and the mentality of people, it's quite alike. So there is like there is no like what's a no-go like on the German market. I would say that when compared to the German market, these 3 marketplaces are much more they're not that, you know, like strict, and you can play around with a lot of different words, like a lot of different metaphors. You can have a little bit more of a free style. I would also say that when it comes to bullets, that you should stick to the capitalized beginnings with the features. I think that works fine for all markets, never mind where they are. But I would just keep more of a, not a too liberal approach, but more of like you could have the liberty of writing some stuff like more of a like a metaphor way. I don't think any of those markets would prefer that you have the sales pitch in bullets. So when it comes to that, they also don't want to be pushed and stuff like that. And people in France are also super careful about what they're doing for and buying for their kids and for like supplements and stuff like that. So when it comes to that, you also have to take extra cautions. And also when it comes to keywords, I have a really good tip, because a lot of times you will see that in your keyword results, you'll have results without with the words which don't have like accents, like over letters. And when you have like a word like crème, like cream, and you have like a little this accent over e, this is how the words is supposed to be written. If you don't have like this little accent over e, it means that the word is not grammatically correct, and you should not use it in your listing. You can use it in your backends, but not in your listing. But if you use this word in caps, you are allowed to use this word without the accent. And this is how you can save on so many high search volume keywords, which you can actually use in your listing. Let's say you can put it in the first bullet, or I mean, you should not put it in title, because, you know, caps lock are not like title, but you can use it in the bullet, or maybe the beginning of your product description. You can actually, you know, get like some super insanely high search volume keywords, which you until now maybe did not know how you can actually use in your text, but you would put them in backends. So you can maybe put them now in your bullets instead, and maybe do like a split testing to see how well they would perform, for instance.
Interesting. Those are more like technical things that a lot of sellers probably aren't aware of. But
Yeah.
Usually it's very overwhelming joining all these new markets. So a lot of them don't get to go into all these details, but it's super important.
Yeah, this is just, you know, one thing that really helped us, and which we also, you know, so like, well, why don't we use this as a caps, like, you know, so it'll be fine. And also like for the German market, there are a lot of compound words. Like Germans love these like 3 or 4, you know, combined words, long words, you know, like you need a sentence in English, but you have a word for that in German. And basically when you are working, for instance, we love to use Helium 10. So when you're working in Helium 10, there's a default word count which says 2, but if you put 1 as a compound word, you're gonna get different results. Let's say if this like word is I don't know, like a hairbrush, and this name for the hairbrush consists of one big compound word, which is not going to show up if you put the word count 2. You're just gonna get like these long tail keywords. But actually, you're not going to get any results which contain this one compound word, because Helium would see it as like, oh no, this is just like one word. It's like using like kit instead of like bonsai tree kit. So, but it's not the same actually when it comes to German. And then when you put the word count 1, you're going to get all the different names for this hairbrush, which are maybe ranked even more than those long tail keywords you get when you put 2. So we always combine the 2 different sheets that we get, because sometimes you're going to miss out on so many good keywords that your competitors will have and you won't. So that's very important when it comes to the German language.
Interesting specific about, there are a lot of specifics about the German market, actually.
Yeah. Well, I think it's the most demanding one, honestly. And I think it has the biggest potential for you to be successful at, because all the categories basically, which are, you know, bestsellers in the States and the UK, they are also very popular in Germany. So I would say that that marketplace has a very good you know, potential for whatever is popular in the world. It can make it happen in Germany as well. Unlike Japan, for instance, where it's also a huge market, but you really have to have a specific product for that market in order to be successful. And you know, I think that you can just waste time and, you know, money, even though PPC is like really, I know that PPC cost is ridiculously low for a Japanese market. But if you're selling something and you don't know if it's going to be good, or maybe it's a complete miss for that market, you're just losing your money anyways. So, there are some things that you can definitely check if they're a good fit for that market. Like you can go and ask like random people, like you go on Facebook groups, like ask the expats living in your city, the Japanese people. They also have a different sort of culture. People are sensitive when it comes to culture. You can get in big trouble if you offend someone. So you should definitely do your homework before going to the Japanese market. But if you think that you have a good market, I think it can be a huge win for you.
Yeah, well, the most demanding ones are usually the most rewarding ones. That's how it works in business.
Definitely.
So I understand how intimidating can a Japanese market be, especially because it's such a different culture. You have to go through all this learning curve to understand how these people work and what's important to them, what the set of values they have, and just learn how to communicate your brand message to them. Speaking about reaching out to these expat groups for example, on Facebook and asking questions, is that really enough for someone to do a proper research of the marketplace that they want to enter? Or is there some kind of more comprehensive approach that someone can take if they really want to enter these markets seriously and dominate them?
Yeah, well, I think this is like one of the things you could do. It's not definitely going to be your main research method, but since this is the Japanese market, unfortunately, we don't have any tools that are going to show us anything. I mean, you could go into Helium and you can just type the ranked words, and you can see like what search volume are for some certain terms. Like, of course, you can do that as you would do for every market separately. But I also think that you can, of course, definitely go to Amazon itself and then search for the similar products and see how well they're doing, and they can be like a really good guideline if it's worth it doing or not. And also, I know John Kent, one of my friends from the Amazon industry. His company is specialized in Amazon for Japan, and they made this report, which is like a probability report, like how successful your product will be on Amazon Japan. And they gather the information from the competitors from Amazon, and then they would make you a list of like suggestions if that would be possible for you to sell or not. But if you want to sell something that is still not being sold on the Japanese market, then this report is not going to help you. I think you have to do a lot of manual work, a lot of checking yourself, like keywords and stuff. And I would say for the Japanese market that if you don't have a lot of competitors over there and you're selling something which is not that widely known to the audience, I think that you have to sit down and do the dirty work yourself, definitely. But I would suggest like checking the keywords rank, a lot of different reports you can get from Helium, from some other tools, and then you can maybe get a better picture, and also like talking to people that live there, because this is like your audience. So this is like what you get back from people who might be also buying your product. So I think everything that combined can give you some sort of a picture. Would it be possible for that product to be successful or not? It's not the best method ever, but I think it can be a good guideline to know, if it's worth it or not.
That being said, do you have like any sort of pattern that has started to occur when it comes to mistakes that sellers make when they're trying to enter international markets?
Yeah. Well, one of the things is that a lot of people have already used the automated translations, and then they tried to rank for that. That didn't it failed miserably. Especially it sucks because when Amazon gives you that honeymoon period, you want to use it, and then if you if your listing is like very poorly written, or you have like bad keywords, or you don't even have any keywords, and then you use these keywords in your PPC campaigns, which I'm sure when people give you a list, I mean, you hope that these keywords are good. And then like if you use the keywords which are too broad or not specific about the product, and you just like invest a lot of money in them, after this like month of wasting your money and time, it takes a lot of time to come back and just do the things the right way. It just like when Amazon just understands that you're not relevant for the product, like your search terms are not relevant for the product you want to be ranked for, they're just going to remove you from that first page where you land when you're like still fresh and new. And basically what I would always suggest is to do the proper keyword research. You don't have to have somebody who is a native translator, but please hire someone who's going to know the language while they're doing the keyword research, so that even though your language might not be good in your listings, that you really have some good keywords. A lot of people ask me, like, is it like the content which is more important or the keywords? So I would say that I think that the slightly more important are the keywords, because even though you have this beautifully written listing, if somebody types the keyword of the product, your product is not going to show up. So what's it worth that you have like this beautifully written listing if you don't have any keywords in there? And I would always say that, you know, sometimes like the language can sound a little bit odd when you use some keyword in the sentence, but even though like there might be like 2 or 3 sentences like that, if the rest of your text is amazing, it really doesn't matter. So I would say yes to keywords, and a little bit yes to less yes to the content. But you should always focus on putting a lot of the keywords in the title and in the first 2 bullets, but don't overuse the keywords, and don't sacrifice the language just because of your keywords. You can put a lot of those in backend. You can use in subject matter. So I would not like stuff the keywords just on purpose on your listing. If you have A+ content, just, you know, put them in your product description. Always keep that in backend, because this is what also indexed in the most cases. So basically, I would just, you know, pay attention to the keywords, and I would just, you know, pay attention to getting started the right way, because it's going to cost you more money and more time and everything if you just kind of do it like, let's do it, let's auto translate it, and that's it, you know. And also definitely to research the market a little bit more. It sounds like such a boring process and hassle, but I think if you do those things before you start selling, it's going to save you a lot of time and money, and it's definitely going to it's definitely going to pay off.
That's definitely true. You have to take your time when you're taking a big step, such as, you know, going into another market. So how does someone ensure that they have a high quality listing? Do you have like a process for that, for example, in your company?
Yeah, definitely. We have this something which I like to call like a 2-step quality check. So I think that's very, very important, especially because the clients usually don't speak the language. They just, you know, speak English, and they're just like, you know, I don't want anybody else to double check this. Like, I just want to get the product and upload it and just, you know, be done with that.
Yes.
So yeah, so basically every group of our language, I mean, every language has its team. So how it works basically, when sellers send they can either send their link of their already done ASIN, which is live, like in English or in German, because we also do these language combinations, and it goes to our team leader, who just, you know, gives it to the translators. Translators do their keyword research themselves. Because I think that when you're a translator, when you do keyword research yourself, it's much easier for you, because you exactly know what terms you're looking for. If something else is missing, you're like, well, let me look up this term also as well. Whereas if you have a VA who delivers that, he's not a translator, he doesn't know how to do the text, how to maybe, you know, transform the sentences, and then you're gonna have like more limited keywords choices than when the actual translator does them. And so they do the translation themselves, and then it goes to the first proofreader. This is our first step verification, and then the proofreader gives its comments. If it has to be redone or, you know, revised, it goes back to the translator. And then the second step verification, that goes to the team leader. All team leaders are also translators. They just have a little bit more responsibilities, and then they check the text again, and they check also the keywords, if the high traffic keywords are used where it should be. And then after that, it goes to the project manager. She double checks everything again, and then it goes to the client. When doing translations, it's a very dangerous thing, because it's a very subjective thing.
Yeah.
So even though if you have like the best translator ever out there, a lot of people are not just, you know, when you do that like for 5 hours, you're just gonna get lost, and you're like, you don't even know if this sounds right or not. And that's why it's important that somebody else also reads your translation, knowing why did we put the keywords and stuff, because Amazon translations is a completely different style of translations. It can be compared to the SEO articles you do for your website, but I think this is even more like a niche inside of a niche of SEO articles, because you have to pay attention to the lengths, and some certain rules. So it really has to be checked also by someone who also understands how Amazon translations work. So a lot of clients, they send it to, like, I have an aunt in Spain and I send her this and she tells me like, I don't know, this sounds weird and stuff like that. But sometimes, as I said, like, some sentences might sound a little bit odd, but just because of the keywords you use, and you have to know the value of these keywords that you use. Sometimes it's just not possible to absolute to have this amazing natural flow, like your title. It cannot have a natural flow in your title because it just contains of like some very important information about your product. But then you have like the bullets, then you have the product description where you can actually tell your story, write more freely about the product. So there are like a lot of combinations that have to be taken into consideration when checking that sort of listing. And to help our clients, we also mark all the keywords in red. So it's very transparent where the keywords are immediately. And I think that helped a lot because, as I said, a lot of people don't speak the language and they're like, I don't know, what the hell did you do, guys? Like, what is it? What is it? And then we send this in red or in different colors and they're like, oh, this is very nice. And, immediately they're like, okay, some things were done here and all good, So I think the more user-friendly you are, the better it is for your clients. Especially because a lot of clients don't know anything about a lot of different things which are done in Amazon, not only languages, but like also all other things. So I would always, tell service providers just to be, as user-friendly as possible, whatever that means for, their type of service that they're doing, because that is something which helped us a lot. And we got a lot of really, really good feedback because of that.
That's interesting. You mentioned the keyword density, meaning how many times do you repeat certain keywords inside of the listing? Do you have any specific recommendations? What has worked for you in terms of keyword density?
Right. We don't repeat keywords ever. You can have a long tail keyword, plastic travel mug, but then the second keyword is gray travel mug, which doesn't mean that you are repeating the keyword, even though you're having the travel mug. So we never repeat keywords. Usually, it really depends on like the length of the listing or what the client wants. It's really important to listen. If the client wants a very, very long bullet, to say, fine, let's do very long bullets. I really don't want to, mess with whatever you think it's the best for your product. Because, it's everybody are like very emotional with their product, like, oh, that's my baby, blah, blah, blah. Everybody wants to like really taking care of them in this specific way. So we never repeat the keywords like in the title and the bullets. It's always different keyword. It can go anywhere from like 10 to 25 keywords per listing, depending if you have A+ content or not. So we never repeat those, but also in our strategy in backend search terms is also to use, for instance, if you have a backend search term and for instance, you have this like plastic coffee mug or gray travel mug, for instance, if you haven't used these two keywords in your listing, we would just use, and if you have like a coffee mug in your listing, in the backends, we would use gray, plastic, some adjectives. We would just use that. We would never put the whole keywords again and repeating them, because you already are indexed for that coffee mug. Why would you repeat that again? And we also like to use related search terms. A lot of clients, they actually never saw potentially that, but when we use like related search terms, which really have to be related. So you cannot use like a sunscreen lotion and you're selling a coffee mug, because maybe you're using that while driving to the beach. It's like too far from that. But like if you're using like a coaster, for instance, or if you're using straw, for instance, a lot of people would be maybe triggered by like you see a straw and then you see like a coffee mug, you're like, oh right, like, well, it's time for a new coffee mug. It's like this like power of suggestion, which helps a lot. And a lot of people sometimes they actually get their products bought just because they showed up in a related search terms. And then a really cool thing which can happen if it's like bought frequently like that is you can get in that frequently bought together section on Amazon, and your product can be actually, not like a part of the pack with the straws or whatever, but it can be like suggested to other people that, others bought this, so you might also be interested in that, which you basically kind of get as like a free commercial on Amazon for your product. So I would still think that related search terms are a good idea to be used in backends.
That's like a really awesome tip. Like, for example, also if you have a product portfolio that's pretty wide and you already have some good products that sell, that are mature products, you can
Yeah.
put them in your backend
Yeah,
search terms
exactly.
and just
Yeah.
capitalize on that distinct demand.
Yeah,
That's
definitely.
also a great thing.
Yeah, because you know how like a lot of sellers, they have like this little table, like in your A plus content, and then if they sell also, if they have other
Yeah,
products in the same niche, they put this
comparison.
little table. So it's like buy this and this, and like, you know, like this has like, I don't know what this doesn't have and stuff like that, which is really cool. And I always suggest people to do that if they have a lot of products in their niche. But exactly what you said, like you can use those products and put them in your backends, so you can actually get your other products to pop up while people are buying one of them. So that's a really cool thing to refer to your other products.
Yeah, when it comes to these table of contents that you just mentioned in A plus content, I've seen some sellers compare their own products to competitors' products and put images of competitors'
Oh
products,
yeah, that's
which is basically, you know, black hat, but
yeah.
works for some of them. We're willing to try these things.
Yeah, I mean, also you can also advertise on your competitor's webpage, of course. I mean, you've seen a lot of like Amazon listings, and then like you have like this little ad, and I just tell my client like, look, there's somebody else, you know, advertising on your product. Like, you don't want to do that. You want to put your other product on that page. And you know, and a lot of people don't know how to solve that, but this is what people a lot of times they do, which is I mean, it's not black hat, but you know, a lot of people misuse the opportunity of people who don't know about this, or not even a lot of times when I tell people like, you know, I think you should fix this because there's a competitor on your page, a lot of people are just like, really? How? Like, when did this happen? Like 80% of people I tell this to have no idea that they have a competitor, you know, stealing sales from their own page, you know. So
yeah, it's one of the most common but most expensive strategies that
yeah,
are
it is, but I think
oriented
it's
towards growth.
yeah, but I think it's worth it. I mean, I think that people should pay more attention to that, because people don't know, they don't even, as I said, they don't even know that there's a competitor advertising on their web, on their listing. You know, that's just, you know, it's crazy.
Yeah, when it comes to Amazon advertising, what we have noticed as a trend is that cost per click is growing in general, and the competition is getting more fierce than ever. So
Yeah.
whichever strategy you apply, it's always going to be whoever can invest the most in getting that first customer through the door is going to win.
Yeah, I also think that the competition out there is very, very fierce, and there are more and more and more and more people who want to sell on Amazon because of all the stories you hear, and you know, everything would make possible. But I think like Amazon now and like 10 years ago, it's like completely incomparable, and it's so much harder now to make some 7-figure income, for instance, or even 6-figure income like you used to do a couple of years ago. And you know, algorithm has changed so much like ever since. And but yeah, I think that now at this point it's gonna take like a lot of really hard work and good strategies to make a very good income than when you would have tried that like 5 years ago.
Yeah. Well, maybe it might be time to explore some other markets. Like, for example, you mentioned in one of your recent podcasts that there's going to be Amazon Netherlands released pretty soon, or it already exists.
Yeah, it's already launched. I think that Amazon launched it, I think about a week ago. Sellers got an email saying, you know, you should go and sell on the Dutch market, blah, blah. And honestly, like, and this is going to be definitely my tip for 2020, is to try and to go to sell on the Dutch market. I was honestly very surprised to hear that Amazon was opening at the Dutch market, because the Netherlands, it's a small country, and I would have not expected that, you know, Amazon would have opened there. I would have maybe, you know, expected like Denmark, or, you know, maybe a Scandinavian country instead of that. But they chose the Dutch market. And especially it's interesting because Bol marketplace is the ruler of the Dutch marketplace. I mean, Bol is like where everybody sells, and like people were just like not interested in Amazon. But then in October, we got this information from like an inside information from Amazon from one of our clients saying that the Dutch market is going to launch in January, and he wanted to get all of his aces translated. He was a UK seller. And I was really surprised. I'm like, well, maybe this is just like one case and, maybe nobody else shows up. But since October, we've done over 300 ASINs for clients. And I get almost every day, somebody either asks about the Dutch marketplace or wants to get something done for the Dutch marketplace. So I was very surprised by the shown interest of other sellers to go there, open, and to sell on the Dutch marketplace. So I think it's very important for every marketplace who is going to be there first. And I think, since it's pretty new and a lot of people still haven't actually heard about that, especially people who are not selling internationally online, because you're not going to get information from Amazon if you're not independent European about the new marketplace. I think that this is something which will be very, very interesting for everybody out there. For now, I think the competition is not that big. There's still no keyword research for that marketplace. So I actually talked to Helium 10 about that. I asked them, like, look, when are you going to do the Dutch marketplace keyword research? Right. And they told me, like, well, wow, this is something which is really new and really have to work up on that and stuff, because it's very important. I mean, right now you cannot get any keyword ideas from your competitors because they didn't have it too. Like, the only way how you can get some keywords is from Keyword Planner, for instance, but this is not like, Amazon material, it's Google, but, whatever you can get. But definitely I would consider the Dutch market as potentially the best new coming marketplace in 2020.
Will you are offering also translation services?
We are offering, we have the Dutch team, and we're offering translations. As I said, we use some keywords from the Keyword Planner and from other tools we can get. And of course, we offer absolutely localized translation for that marketplace.
Awesome, brilliant. Jana, do you have anything else you wanted to share with us for today's call, and like anything that's like number one advice that you would say to everyone?
I would say to split test your titles and bullets every now and then, because the strategies for keywords, they change a lot. And sometimes you'll be missing out on so many maybe better keywords and opportunities, especially for the international markets when it comes to different holiday seasons and so on. So I think this is something that maybe you should pay more attention to.
Definitely agree on that one. It also affects not just PPC, for example, from my point of view, but also conversion rates in general.
Definitely. And I think it affects absolutely everything.
Keywords change. The way that people search for products online changes from time to time. So that's correct.
Yeah.
Jana, thank you for being our guest today. I personally learned so much from you, and I will be definitely following you online wherever you are on podcasts.
Thank you so much. I really enjoyed talking to you today, and I wish you the best of luck. I think you're doing an amazing job with your YouTube channel, and I think you bring so much value, and I think just, you should definitely going to increase your audience this year immensely.
I hope so.
Yeah.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.